All right, slasher films are back, baby. On this week's Funhaus, we're going to talk about the new Halloween. But first, I want to thank Mack Weldon for sponsoring this episode of Funhaus. I will tell you a little bit more about Mack Weldon later on in the show and about a special offer they have for you. So, my name is Daniel, and I have a few friends here with me today to talk about the new Halloween. So please introduce yourselves and tell me what mask you would wear on a murder rampage.
Didn't prepare us for this.
No.
I'm Elise Williams. I would wear the Happy Mask Salesman mask.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an homage to
like
a game I love, Professor Layton. And
Ooh,
I've got it.
volumes.
I'm Alana, and when I was in Japan, I got this terrifying Pikachu face mask that is supposed to be good for your skin, but it looks like you've just skinned a Pikachu and then shoved it on your face.
I love those masks.
I'm going to go with that one.
My name is James Williams, and I would wear a mask for the wrestler Sting when he was doing his crow style. Yeah. So people would see me, they go, "Oh my God, Sting, you're here to protect us from the NWO," but then boom, I kill him.
They say, "Oh my God, Brandon Lee, you're here
What a heel turn.
to protect us against the NWO."
Nice. I asked about the masks because one of the fun bits of trivia I learned while doing a little bit of research for this episode was that the mask for Michael Myers was a Captain Kirk mask.
Yeah, they spray painted it.
I love
Wow.
that. Yeah. He was in some like shitty small horror movie where he'd gained a few pounds, and I guess they'd done the mask for that movie, and then turned that into the Captain Kirk mask for mass market.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was stupid and funny.
Damn.
So let's hold on spoilies for just a little bit. I know you're eager to spoil it all.
Stop it.
But so 40 years ago, 40 years and 10 Halloween movies later, we have a third movie called Halloween.
You know what blows my mind?
Yeah.
Seems like only yesterday Halloween H2O was out, but we could do H4O if we really wanted.
It was 20 years ago. That's pretty crazy.
I know. We're double the time we were from when we reached H2O.
We're really old.
We're really old.
Oh boy. This one takes place ignoring all the others immediately, or I guess 40 years after the first one, pretending like those other 9 movies don't exist.
Yeah, so what is this, the 4th timeline?
No, this is way more than that.
I go to you my Halloween timeline
This is
expert.
timeline 5 or timeline 6.
Oh.
Yeah.
They've rebooted a few times.
Which it should be noted, because people that don't consider themselves Halloween fanatics or lore masters like myself, that means that the whole Michael Myers being
it was like a Celtic
Laurie Stroud's sister-brother relationship is not in. That wasn't introduced until 2.
Yeah, he's no longer her brother, which is really...
I think that's fine.
Hard to watch the movie because that becomes so ingrained into what you know about Halloween.
Yeah.
So for me, watching it, I kept reminding myself, that's not her brother. That's not a
So it
thing.
distracted you?
I had just keep, because you're thinking of like the connection that she has to what this means to her that this guy is back. You're thinking of that the whole movie because she's obsessing and stressing over it. So I had to keep telling myself, well, it's not because she has this whole history of her brother and he killed her, her older sister and this whole thing. Like, it's just that he's pure evil.
I tried to look at it as a Batman Joker thing, where they both like are obsessed with each other, and if one of them disappeared, the other one would just feel unfulfilled.
Has
That's
no
a great
life's
analog.
purpose.
They need each other.
Which, by the way, is a fantastic premise or theme that I wish was explored, but was absolutely not.
They considered it and then just walked away.
Like many things in this film, it was mentioned and then ignored.
Yeah.
They didn't delve deep on anything.
Yeah, I turned to James like after the movie and I'm like, I feel like there's like a 3 to 4 hour cut out there somewhere of this movie because there's so much that's not gone back to or resolved. Or
There is, in fact, a 2 hour and 15-minute cut originally, and I think this one was like 1:45. So there's about half an hour of decent.
I can't wait to never watch it.
That they cut.
I think we need to get control over these really long movies. People were like, hey, we can just do long movies because of it. So then they made, really long Batman v Superman, which doesn't have to be, or whatever.
Blade Runner's good.
But this is the kind of movie that probably shouldn't have been 2 hour and 15, but the hour 45 cut is not good.
There's something missing.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people disagree with you because this was a certified hit. $77.5 million in the first week on a $10 million budget. So that is success.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to make a bunch more. It did break a few records. Jamie Lee was boasting on Twitter The biggest horror movie opening with a female lead of all time.
That's awesome.
Which is
That's
awesome. The biggest movie opening with a female lead over 55.
Also
is also awesome. So I think those are both serious benchmarks that are wonderful, really.
Yeah.
A few other records. Second biggest October movie opening ever behind Venom from earlier this month.
Wow.
And the biggest Halloween film opening ever. So
Like the biggest of the Halloween
the Halloween
franchise.
films. Yeah,
Okay.
the franchise.
Not that impressive. The biggest
and
horror film of
it
all
is
time.
the second highest opening for an R-rated horror film ever, right behind last year's It. So this is big time. I think we're going to have some more Halloween coming our way, and probably some other slasher movies.
Yeah. What were this is interesting too because like similar to Venom was critically panned and still made a ton of money because it didn't matter because people wanted to go see an established IP do stuff on the big screen. This got really good reviews.
Wait, it got good reviews?
Yeah.
Well,
I think
not like
it's-
glowing greatest
no,
thing
but it
ever,
was like
but
70
When it
something,
was
80
on the
something.
circuit at film festivals, it got really good buzz.
Yeah.
It got-
early buzz was really good
Yeah.
for this movie.
well, and that's probably because it wasn't bad, in my opinion.
Yes, I went in with high expectations because people expected it to be terrible, and it's not terrible. It's just not great.
Yeah, I think that's also my view on it, and maybe everyone's. I don't know. Is it was just meh.
It's
Like,
uninspired,
yeah.
really.
Well, yeah. I mean, do we want to get into our critiques of it or?
I guess as long as you stay slightly spoiler free
Yeah.
until later in the show. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I like to start from a positive place. Maybe talk about what your favorite part or favorite
Sure.
scene of the movie was. Anybody?
There is a point in the film when Michael Myers goes on a very classic Myers rampage through a neighborhood, through an unassuming neighborhood that's really fun.
Are you talking about that one like really long?
There's a really
tracking
long shot, but then he also goes to other places. There's the one really long shot, but then it breaks the scene up, and he just basically tears through an entire
Kills a
neighborhood,
lot of people.
just like willy-nilly. And I thought that was the most fun part of the movie for me.
yeah, I
agreed.
liked that a lot.
I loved that shot. The one that it kind of went between two kills, where he kind of walks behind a house and grabs a hammer and then walks in.
Yeah.
I don't know. The shot was inspired. I don't know if it was an homage to another Halloween. I haven't seen them all.
There are a lot of homages.
Oh, the whole
lot.
movie is one big riff
Yeah.
or rip, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a moment I really liked, but it is spoiler
Okay.
driven, so I guess we'll talk about it later.
I just want to say I think that Jamie Lee Curtis is great and did a great job.
She's wonderful.
She's
He
so
plays this
awesome.
balance between being kind of crazy and erratic, but also being like very driven and persistent in what she's doing, and like that's a hard balance to strike. So some people think she's crazy, but you're like, is she? I don't know.
I mean, she's probably a little crazy, but
Yeah.
I do like the fact that she wasn't like necessarily afraid of Michael. She's not running away from him. She's like wants to get him. She's
Yeah.
here to kill him and spent her like last 40 years preparing for this night.
Well, you think
or
about
whatever.
that the character of Laurie Strode, like 1978, this massacre happens with all her friends. I don't think maybe at the time that her mental health was really like a priority. It was probably like, all right, well, you get a couple days off of school and now
Yeah.
like you're
And get over it.
get over it. And so I feel like it's like, well, you're also seeing a woman that like was kind of maybe failed by the people around her and then just had to kind of deal with it herself, which is interesting about her too, because she really was trying to deal with it best she could. And I always like, I guess I don't love it, but you're rooting for Jamie Lee. You're rooting for everyone around her to understand how menacing a force this like amorphous entity that is Michael Myers is. And sometimes it's frustrating in horror movies when you're like, oh, I wish people would just listen to the main character. But in this case, I didn't feel that way.
Because you understand why they wouldn't.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're like, well, this happened 40 years ago, Jamie Lee. Like,
He's
I was
just a
actually-
dude.
yeah.
I was a little upset with her family for giving her such a hard time. I don't know. Like she had her best friends murdered in front of her and was chased after by this maniac. And people are like, just get over it.
Yeah, but it seems like she also treated her daughter like shit while she was raising her because she was so over the top about being worried about it,
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm sure she did. I mean, that's like abuse through the generations, just like
Yeah.
alcoholism or something. Even your granddaughter is going to have the effects of
I think
of
that is the parallel they try to make. They try to
Oh.
make it like she's an alcoholic.
Which she
but-
was,
because,
I suppose.
yeah, like, she's an alcoholic in H2O, right?
I
Am I
think so.
thinking
And
of it wrong?
like a
So-
pillhead.
I think she just drinks to escape. I think she like does
Yeah.
drink to escape. Every Halloween, she just gets drunk and tries not to think about it.
We just watched it, and I already like my
Nothing
brain went,
happens
"You
for
don't
most of
need
the
this." Like took it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it is a similar story. It's been 20 years since I've seen H2O, but I guess similar premise, right?
No.
Yeah, I mean, not really.
Laurie Strode's back.
Yeah, but
Is
yeah,
that it?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
In H2O, she's changed her identity to try and leave her past behind and started a new life for herself, and seems to have mostly gotten over it, with the exception of every Halloween she gets really freaked out that Michael Myers is going to come back, which actually makes more sense because you don't know where he is. He's like kind of MIA for a really long time in H2O, but in this one, she knows where he is. He's locked away in a psychiatric facility that for the last 40 years he's been there, which kind of gets me into some of my complaints about this movie. There's so many things there's so many threads left unexplored. It's just hanging wires, this whole movie seemed like to me. I think making a movie because you can make money off of it is a perfectly reasonable justification for making a movie.
It's a business.
It just seems strange that you would reboot this franchise now, get Jamie Lee Curtis back, throw out all the old lore, and also hire a director who isn't known for this type of genre. I guess he wrote it, so maybe he just was like, I really want a financial win or whatever. But like, get a director who's known for having some sort of interesting take on at least pot humor and heists and stuff like that, and then make one of the most generic slashers in the entire franchise. Like, it is just by the numbers.
I think it's also, there are threads that they throw in that they didn't fucking need to. Like, there are parts of the movie that are in there that I'm like, why are you even giving me this character? This had no payoff whatsoever. If they had have just kind of tidied it up a bunch, just been like, rein it in, focus on the things that you do have that are good, and stop with this stupid boyfriend subplot that I don't care about, or this weird linguist subplot that I don't care about. Like, just focus on the one goddamn thing that you have, which is Michael Myers being scary, mostly.
And that's why I feel like the boyfriend, the granddaughter's boyfriend, like there must have been something where they had a little bit of resolution to that. Like, it couldn't have just been the catalyst, I feel like. But they didn't.
Early,
No.
as far as I understand, early on in the production, they were going to do 2 films back to back. They were going to do a Halloween and a Halloween 2.
Yeah.
And then somewhere before shooting, they decided not to do that. So maybe a lot of these lingering threads that seem problematic would have been threads picked up in the second.
Maybe.
It
Halloween
definitely
movie?
feels that way. But even from like the start, so Halloween 1978 ends with Michael Myers getting pushed out a window and falling onto the lawn below, and then Jamie Lee Curtis is like, "Oh my God, that was so close!" And then she and the doctor who's there now, his psychiatric doctor or whatever, looks over the edge and he's gone. Like, oh my God, he lives
Spooky.
to stalk another day.
Well, I don't think it's the same doctor. Because don't they make some comment in the
it's
movie?
Loomis.
It's Loomis, and then Loomis's apprentice or whatever is the guy.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's they look out and then he's gone, and you're like, oh, that's a scary ending for a movie to end with.
Pretty abrupt.
Except that this Halloween presumes that he disappeared from beneath the window, and then they have to explain how he made his way into a
Did they explain it?
Yeah, the cop said that he arrested him.
Okay.
The cop
How
who
do
they
you arrest Michael
introduced in
Myers?
this movie, because he's not in the other one as far as I know.
No. But
Is
the way
like-
they introduced him in the movie made me think he was a character from another
Yeah,
But
me
he's
too.
not.
It's like a slow push in and turn around.
So like those things are weird. Like, you already
Yeah.
have a you got rid of all the lore because you wanted to start clean, but you already started with the screw up
Yeah.
kind of, or like a weird absence.
Maybe
of,
there was some manhunt that happened off screen. that
Well,
we
I
don't
mean, I
know
think you could have
anything
just done 2. You could have just said 2 was part of it.
I think originally in the original development 2 was going to be included, I read, but then they, I don't know why,
Yeah.
scratched
It's
it.
easier to market.
Maybe because John or what's his face said that he didn't like 2.
John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yes, that's.
I
think
feel
that's-
like this can act as a reboot just fine. Like, I'm willing to dismiss that discrepancy because, like, sure, it's the same woman and she was tortured. Like, it gives you all that background information that you could take as an independent film. Like, it's set in what pop culture understands Halloween is, but it doesn't necessarily have to actually tie up with the events of the first one. And it that way it feels like a reboot to me, and that I wasn't questioning any of that. But there was more shit in this that just added its own questions that it didn't need to ask.
It's weird to me because it's a reboot. It also seemed a little bit like a remake.
Yeah.
With the number of like homages and lifts and kind of redos that they did in the movie, like there are constantly like, oh, remember the shot when he stabbed the guy? Like, remember when she disappeared off of the porch? Like,
it was just like weird stuff where they just kept inverting things and thinking that was
it's clever.
Like when she's looking for him in all the closets instead of him looking through the closets for her. It's like they're like, but you're just flipping it.
Yeah. There's a part where she falls down and then
she falls over the balcony and she like you're just and I don't know. I didn't think that was really like.
Another invert was when the granddaughter was in the classroom and looked out and saw Jamie Lee standing where Michael did the same thing to her in '78.
Some of those shots are exactly the same too.
Which is
that fan service maybe?
I think it's weird because you would hope that we're going to do Halloween again, and we're going to do those things, those tropes that you know from this Halloween franchise, everything you expect, we're going to have our twist on it. But the movie doesn't have any of that, which is, I think, my biggest problem with the whole film.
And Jamie Lee was a hologram.
What?
Just Jamie Lee was a hologram.
It's just very much the same thing again.
Can we get into spoilers?
Well, yeah, actually.
Having trouble not.
All right. So Mack Weldon is better than whatever you're wearing right now. Mack Weldon believes in smart design, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. Buying a new set of underwear took me less than 5 minutes at MackWeldon.com. Getting myself a fresh set of underwear and socks was the fastest and easiest way to feel like a new man. Fresh Mack Weldon boxer briefs make me feel like $1,000,000. These will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants that you will ever wear. Like Funhaus, Mack Weldon works hard and plays hard too. Their clothes are great and they perform well no matter what I'm doing. I could be walking my dog, lifting weights, going out on dates, or just lazing around and watching movies. Mack Weldon is perfect for every occasion. Mack Weldon wants you to be comfortable, and they are extremely confident in their product. So if you don't like your first pair, you can keep it, and they will still refund your money, no questions asked. We have a special offer for you this week. Go to MackWeldon.com, get 20% off using promo code FILM. So thank you, Mack Weldon, for sponsoring our show today. Yeah, let's, Alana, jump into whatever spoiler you wanted to jump into.
So it's not explicit, but explicit enough that Jamie Lee actually breaks him out on the bus. That's what I assume happened. She was sitting there waiting because she wanted to break him out and like cause that accident so that he would be out so she could kill him.
I hadn't thought of that. That's really
what
interesting.
I think has happened. And I was like, that's almost smart.
But she shows up at dinner with the...
Yeah, but she knows that he's out and she's like freaking out, right? She's like, oh my God, I've done it. Like,
maybe so.
I think that she intentionally set that up.
That might be more clever than the film.
I assume there's a scene somewhere where the doctor sabotages the bus because he was like, he's my patient, I must go with him.
Yeah.
And then spoiler, later on in the movie it's revealed that he wants to see what Michael Myers does when he's out in the wild because he's so obsessed with his silence and stuff.
The more I was thinking about it, I was wondering if like the doctor was grooming Michael Myers. Like it started like maybe he contacted the documentarians or he was involved with the bus or he was maybe like in his...
Oh my God, I forgot about the documentary.
I know.
Oh my God.
Doesn't that feel like two different movies?
Yeah.
Wow.
They feel like... Because I thought about that after I watched the movie. I was like, man, that felt like hours ago we saw them. But I was like, that's an interesting theory though, that Jamie Lee was involved. Because my thinking was just that the doctor was maybe like even in his... like discussions with Michael Myers was trying to like goad him and implant incept him to want to return to like his life of violence.
I imagine Michael always wanted to, because the doctor's thing was that he wanted to get him to speak, right? The doctor was also just a completely pointless character that I didn't think needed to be there at all.
He loves psychiatry so much.
What did he say?
I really like that concept. I don't know if this movie was that clever, but I guess
either, but it makes me like it more.
Yeah, it left it open-ended when you just show up and the bus has already crashed.
Yeah, so then I was wondering if, like, part of me is trying to think if there's a version of this where, you know, the daughter, most of it is just calling her insane, but at the end she obviously turns and is, like, ready to kill Michael. Is that because they had discussed it and it was set up? Or is that just a point where she's like, oh, my childhood training is kicked in? And it just kept, like, when I left, I kept thinking of this better version of this film where these two women have busted him out of this asylum. They're pretending to the whole world that they haven't and that they're both just fucking terrified when really they're luring him into this trap just to kill him. I was like, that would have been so much better.
Yeah, I wouldn't give the movie that much credit.
That was my another problem is, like, the twist on this is that Halloween is about this this helpless woman being stalked by a crazy slasher, an unstoppable force. The twist is basically Home Alone.
Yeah.
With like that's also what the trailer makes it seem like. It's Home Alone, but with Michael Myers. He's coming back, but this time she's ready.
She's got micro machines.
Spoiler alert: as soon as he shows up, she is not ready.
Yeah.
After 40 years, all of it, like her whole house is a nonsense death trap for her.
Yeah.
Not for him.
But could you fucking imagine waiting 40 years from that and then it happens and now you're like freaking out that you actually have to.
Yeah, but if she was surprised by it, that would be one thing. If she was like, oh, I'm gonna be ready for him, and then on February 23rd he shows up, I'd be like, I get it. But she knows that he's out of prison. She has an incident with him. She's like, it's October 31st. She knows, she's like ready for all this shit. The police, she gathers up her family and the police say the safest place is your house, which is stupid.
In the middle of the woods.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard
whole
in my
thing's
life.
flammable.
Pretty funny.
Like all of it is a great excuse for a super generic, we've seen this 1,000 times before, slasher movie, but not very clever if you want to make something new and something exciting in the slasher genre.
Well, I thought the idea that, she was going to trap him in her, house of horrors and kill him finally was interesting, but every part of her planning didn't actually work at all. Like, it was all
I mean, the very end of it worked. They managed to trap him, sure.
Yeah.
That's it, though.
You know, I did like her having like the rolling gates on her room. So when she was like securing the house, she's like, no, okay, this room is cleared. I'm going to close it off. And I was like, that's kind of cool.
By the way, she did with all of the empty rooms. The room filled with mannequins.
I know.
Why is there a room filled with mannequins?
And a closet that she doesn't even know what's in. Like, that was my big problem with this movie. She has this house. They talk about she has this house. They show her prepping the house. They talk about how she's pushed her family away because she got this death trap house, this super perfect house. She shouldn't be the victim in her own home. That's where she should be in control. Have them fight somewhere else. But then at the end of the movie, in the third act or whatever, she goes to the house and oh shit, now she's in control. Now he's in a room full of mannequins. And she's behind one of the mannequins when he thinks that she thinks she's in the closet. No, she was behind the mannequins. But she goes into the room full of mannequins, thinks he's in the closet, and then gets scared when he pops out from behind one of her mannequins.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that shit is just dumb. That is really stupid.
Well, I think it's frustrating because you can see a way that it could be good.
Yes.
They just didn't take that way. And it doesn't seem like it's that hard. Also, could we talk about the line where the dad goes, oh, I got peanut butter on my penis.
Yeah.
So
What? Clearly
I didn't
ADR.
know what that meant. Did anyone else know what that meant?
No.
Because that distracted me for a good 3 minutes.
That is Danny
During some-
McBride humor.
Yep.
That is
was
exactly
so
what that
weird.
is. And it was ADR'd in.
It was so
clearly to
weird.
give a lighter moment there, but it was bad.
It felt like they were like, all right, we got the
didn't make any
scene. Now just do
sense.
one and say whatever you want. We'll get a real reaction out of the people around you. And then he said that actor said that or whatever, and they're like, that's funny.
It's
let's
like
keep it
something
in."
that would have happened in Arizona Circle.
I actually I love that actor Toby Huss is actually
Yeah.
incredible.
I like him a lot.
Actually, a lot of the acting was good. I thought the
a lot of the
kid was
actors.
really good.
That little
Oh,
kid
that
was
little boy was
amazing.
the
He's
best.
probably my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna die, Dave, and then he's gone from
Let
the
Dave
movie.
go first.
He was wonderful.
Well, there's also the Bon Me scene, which I didn't need.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, and
what?
it all just
When they took 10 minutes out of the movie for the two cops to discuss what Bon Me is, and the guy's like, this is my lunch, and it's a brownie. I'm like, thanks,
Yeah,
Danny
that was
McBride, you're
pretty weird.
hilarious.
It very much screamed again of Danny McBride, like, oh, we need a comedy scene here.
Well, yeah, it's like two separate people wrote two different things.
It's just very weird how this movie, you're like, okay, now surprise me. You've set everything up to surprise me, and then it does exactly what you would imagine. Like, everyone is stupid. Everyone goes the wrong way. There's a point.
There's a part with the girl's friend who just starts hitting on her when she's just had a fight with her ex. She's
Yeah.
like, Jesus fucking Christ, what are
Oh
you
man,
doing?
that I don't know what was
Fucking
going
kid.
on. I don't know if that was just like, not to get into the genders and everything like that, but like in terms of toxicity and like stuff, that scene afterwards where her boyfriend cheats on her at this party that they came to together and then calls her the asshole, throws her phone away, and then the other guy comes with her, immediately hits on her, and then when she's like, what the fuck? He goes, please don't tell your
Please don't
your
tell your
male
boy-
friend.
I don't want him to be mad at me.
And I'm like,
Oh.
are we supposed to hate this guy?
I think they
Yeah.
wanted us to hate that nerd and not feel sorry for him.
I guess, but I don't know. It's just there's so much weird
So
stuff with this.
Halloween, historically, these movies have had like a slant of the implied notion that Michael Myers has a vendetta against women too.
Mhm.
Like that's an undercurrent through them. And this one, I think, having the 3 female like focus, that was there. But I was like, man, they were really making like all the men in this movie look like really bad. Like they started.
The dad
with-
was good.
The dad was fine, but the dick. I lost this with the peanut butter
The
dick.
peanut
That
butter
was
penis.
weird.
It's also
the fact that
weird.
he said penis.
The little boy was the only like
penis
redeeming
word is what made
man.
it weird.
It's male.
You're
in
right.
this movie.
You're right.
But then it's also
weird.
weird too because she's like, here's all my guns. This is my lucky revolver. It never jams. And I'm like, okay, screenwriting 101. It's going to jam
for it to
jam.
or it will not jam when it's important to.
They killed
But-
off Bill Patton.
But what they do was, then he goes, hey, the police are outside. And then he walks up to the police and then he gets strangled to death, fires the gun once and then dies and then gets stuffed in a
Didn't
closet.
even go anywhere.
Like,
It's a shame.
Didn't add up to anything. Also, when you first meet Jamie Lee Curtis, she's in this gate. Like, I don't understand any of it. Where happened to the gate?
Yeah, the
Why
one
would
that
you
had to
show
get
us a gate
the podcasters had to
with
get
a
buzzed
bridge?
through.
Also
My-
true.
And then the police are sitting outside of the gate.
My favorite
And
part was when Bill Patton decides he's in the cop car and he's got the doctor and her in the back seat and he decides he's just going to gun down Michael Myers with the car. That I would loved, but then I also loved it even more after because John Smith told me that he didn't realize it was Michael Myers. He thought that
It was a random trick or
he thought it was
treater.
like a random person.
I saw the movie with him and he just died at that moment. It was pretty wonderful.
Which would have been kind of a funny twist. I mean, I think him chasing down this guy, like seeing Michael Myers, who, by the way, is really bad at hiding in this movie.
Doesn't even try.
He's like, all right, I'm going to walk
Just
down
down
the
the street.
sidewalk.
Oh, the
In
light's
the
off.
li-
Guess it's time to move.
And so then the cop who just happens to be driving somewhere else entirely sees him on the sidewalk and is like, you know what I should do? Run him down with this girl who I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be protecting in the back seat, and then hits him in the most like silly movie way possible, which is like bump, stop, and then launch them. You pull up next to him, you shoot him 3 times in the spine. Like, that's what you do. I don't know. So much stuff, Bobby.
I'm okay with Michael Myers being virtually invincible.
Yeah,
like
me
I think
too.
that
It was
that's
supposed
kind of
to be.
fun.
Yeah.
I like him being comically strong, and some of the slasher stuff I think was entertaining. It's like the way he kills people when you figure that he has, but then you see it, you're like, oh, gross. Like I'm fine with all of that shit. It's just everything in between is a goddamn mess.
When Michael Myers is doing his thing, the movie's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Jamie Lee Curtis finally gets a chance to do her thing, the movie's really good. The transition between those two is very, very clunky and just makes me feel like something's missing.
Oh, I feel like there were too many characters. You were saying the Michael stuff's great and the Jamie Lee stuff is great. And in between, there's just too much other shit going on
Totally.
with psychiatrists and police officers and other
documentarians.
teams.
Her daughter,
Yeah,
even
podcasters.
her
Her
family.
Boyfriend, that friend, like what the fuck? Why was there a cheating subplot?
The moment at the end where her daughter Judy Greer is like holding the gun and she's like, I can't do it, I
Yeah.
can't do it, and I'm like, you fucking bitch, you can't do it. like you know what you've seen what he's done, you can't pull this, and then she's like, nah, I'm just playing. I was like, that's the
That
movie.
was awesome.
Yeah, I like
That's
that
the
too.
movie.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's killer. That's
It
great.
built to that moment.
Yeah.
That was so good. And like the humor of the like little boy
God, he was
who's the
great.
highlight of the movie.
Yeah, he's
He
great.
really
that
was.
did not exist throughout. It was just like that one section with him.
Yeah.
But he was basically the movie had no real commentary on this genre beyond that one scene, which at this point a slasher movie like this that's 40 its predecessor is 40 years ago, it should be making commentary on this genre. And I will say, like, with Michael Myers being like presumed still alive at the end because of the breathing, and that's not something that horror movies do now. That's very much tied to the genre of slasher that existed in 20 years ago. Like when horror movies are made, there's no are they dead at the end anymore. But I think that's a fun thing to bring back because
me
I
too.
think like
Talking about that
it's-
creepy breathing at the end of the
Yeah.
credits.
yeah, I think
Implies
it's
he's still
fun to bring back the unstoppable refrigerator of a killer. Who is he dead? Maybe he's not dead. Like because we used to watch horror movies knowing they'll find a way to bring him back. Like we used to not care about any continuity And so
just establishing it at the end of the movie rather than at the start of another one. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
too. I'm all right.
It's just fun. It's like that fun, cheesy thing that movies used to do, and so I'm okay with that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I would totally just rewrite it as though they intentionally broke him out, both planned it all along, tried to hide it from everyone, and then killed him.
That's the way.
That would have been a
you
good
guys.
reveal.
That's the way to do
Interesting.
it.
It's a different take. It's something we haven't seen before.
Or if they had sold it to us as Jamie Lee Curtis, they said none of the other Halloweens matter, and then at the end Josh Hartnett shows up,
Oh,
and it was
like
like,
it.
oh no, they did matter. She does
the
still have a
secret
son.
she was hiding
From
him.
her other first marriage.
Well,
Yeah.
she wasn't. She wasn't hiding him. He just never came up.
There was also a weird
You know?
relationship between Jamie Lee Curtis and that cop too, that I kept waiting for them to explain.
Yeah.
Like, because they were like, she was twice divorced, and like their relationship of like knowing each other, seeing each other in their crowd, and he's the only one who's like kind of on her side about the whole Michael Myers is too dangerous, you need to take him down kind of thing, is really not.
Didn't
I was
pay
like,
off.
oh, it's gonna because he was probably one of her ex-husbands or something. Like, he comforted her after the thing, and then they got married. Not that I want them to explore that, but it's just like I was just sitting there scratching my head.
Why
going,
introduce something if you don't have a conclusion to the
yeah,
introduction?
why are you
That-
showing me
that
this?
Yeah.
whole character was puzzling in that way that you
Yeah.
always felt like there was something that you were supposed to know or understand about him that just wasn't ever there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious. I will be waiting for the director's cut of this movie to come out.
Yeah.
That is longer. Not that it should be longer, but I'm just curious. I just want to see that other boyfriend, because they introduce her friend, and then Michael Myers just happens to go to her. Michael Myers, by the way, is completely clueless
His
the whole
timing
movie.
is excellent.
He just
He's lucky.
He accidentally destroyed everyone in a social circle around Laurie, just completely by accident.
See, I'm cool with that too, though.
I am, too.
I like him just like being like person in house
But-
murder. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't think about it. He just does it.
Non-discriminate.
Oh my God, that was her granddaughter's best friend, or like, or
Keep on killing him.
yeah, he's like, oh, they're walking through the backyard. That was her granddaughter's other friend,
Yeah.
and then he's like, he wakes up in the back of a police van, and fights his way out, and he goes, hey, it's her house. like, that's literally how the whole movie goes. I don't know.
Like there's some kind of supernatural thread where he's just like in some way instinctively drawn to members of that family or some shit. But again,
Yeah,
not explored.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
I don't know if there needs to be a connection.
Well, the opening implies that there's some sort of evil, like some
Oh,
sort
Yeah.
of
with all
supernatural.
the
like once
dogs barking
he's
and the other
almost
inmates.
reunited with his mask, and it's like two magnets,
Yeah.
like opposing each or being drawn to each other. That's just making everyone else freak out and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
Something else I did love is the reverse decomposing pumpkin.
Oh, the intro
You
in
was
the
didn't
credits.
rad.
I loved it.
Oh,
I thought
yeah,
it was cool.
It was another just straight up homage, though.
Yeah.
It was not a new idea or anything, but it was really
It was an
neat.
homage, but I also I really love when movies used to have actual like opening credits.
Yeah.
There's just something like
You know,
about that.
I'm gonna say it. I'm not crazy about it, but I think the Rob Zombie version is a more interesting take on Halloween, one that I'm more glad exists than this new one.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, I think Rob Zombie the Rob Zombie version at the very least was like, well, let's do it again, but from his perspective.
Yeah.
Well, I guess people's knock on that movie is that it went too far in explaining why Michael's fucked up.
And I will
He's got
say-
this
we don't
bad
even know,
family and
really.
was tortured. I don't-
Yeah, but at least it's a different. At least it's
Different
something
take.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
You know?
I guess we were talking about it briefly, and we're just kind of wondering why, other than making money, this movie existed. Because it didn't do anything new. It pretty much just recreated moments from all the other films, put them in a new movie, and then tacked on an interesting third act of trying to trap them in a death house. But I don't know.
The thing is, they probably set out to write something and couldn't. From everyone that I know who's written for video games, it's always, I don't know how similar the industries are, but it's always, well, we tried to write that, but then we couldn't. Well, we had to rewrite the script 20 times and ended up not liking it that much. But the first version might have had that. It's just like maybe they tried and it just didn't happen that way because there's so many execs getting involved and just they're like, nope, cut all that interesting shit, just more murder.
Yeah, my wishful thinking is that Blumhouse said, okay, well, we want to reboot this franchise. We want to do interesting things with it. There's a generation that doesn't know it, so let's set it up in the first one and then we'll knock it down in the other ones. I don't know if that's the case. I think Blumhouse was just like, what's a identifiable property we can make micro budget, movies out of, and they banked they banked a ton of money on it, but.
I guess they probably introduced all those characters that we don't give a fuck about so that you have an attachment to people who die, which didn't work.
Yeah.
But that's probably what it was. It's like, well, we need to have all these characters so when Michael goes on his rampage, we're identifying all of these people that he's killing and you know who they are and what kind of people they are. But it didn't work.
But and also even with I totally agree. But for me, the most oh shit kill was when he just walked into someone's house and bashed someone's head in with a hammer.
Claw hammer.
I was like, that was like, oh
terrifying.
fuck,
Yeah.
he's scary.
Yeah.
And I don't know what her name was. I don't know where she lived. I don't know anything about her.
Yeah.
Because that could be you.
Yeah.
Could be me. Yeah.
I mean,
Just found an open door.
There was like
picked up a
another
weapon,
woman who was like,
killed
I'm going to
someone.
close the blinds. And then
I think that's what's scary for me about, like you're saying, is when it's like he's not discriminating against who he's killing.
Yeah,
But when if I was a character in this movie, I'd be like, oh, he's just interested in Laurie Strode. But when it's like, oh, he could come into my house and curb stomp me, then I'm like, oh.
I also do like the idea that he just slowly upgrades weapons, he's walking, he just picks something up and then he's like, put that down,
there's a
pick this
knife.
one up.
I love
All
that,
right.
because what did he pick up before he got the knife?
Was a
it
hammer.
like
He had a hammer,
it was a hammer,
and he
yeah.
just picked it up in that shed and then was like, all right, we good.
I love that.
Even though he could use his hands. He did, though, right? Yeah, his first 2 kills were just with his hands.
yeah.
I guess maybe that needed to explain how he got the mask. That's why they needed them to drive through that. But I also like that moment of him like standing looking at the trunk of the car and being like, yes, my mask.
What if he put on the
I
wrong
love
mask?
Yeah.
He just turns into a charity worker.
Yeah, I don't know. I had fun with the movie.
Yeah.
Especially this time of year, it's fun to go to the theater and get some visceral thrills. I don't think I don't know. It's so vanilla. It's not great. It's not bad in my mind. Some of y'all might dislike it more than I did.
It's par.
It's par. It is very much par. And I think it was made it seems almost like fan fiction to me. It's like, I'll write a sequel and put in all the stuff I love. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It didn't elevate or have anything new to say.
So what do we say? We say go see it or don't go see it?
That's what I was going to ask.
I say go see it.
I still say go see it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got the cash to spare?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's perfect for the season.
Yeah.
You know? And legacy, seriously, 40 years, 11 movies now, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of ideas that can iterate that many times for so long. I guess not all of them were good, but I think it's
Most
still
of
an
them not.
impressive feat.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dan says go see it, have fun.
Can you get screenplays online?
Yeah.
Like, if you
yeah.
could get that screenplay, I would love to just rewrite it. Just try it, Just be like, all right, here are the pieces I like. Let me just jumble this back up. Just see how it works.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right. Yeah. Any last thoughts, anybody?
Why was she so afraid to tell her parents that they were going to do a gender swap version of...
Good point.
She wanted it to be a surprise
Yeah,
in a
it's a cute
scene that
surprise.
didn't make it into the final cut
Okay,
where
'cause
they
she was
show
like,
their costumes
off.
off.
I was like, are her parents like going to be pissed off that she's dressing as
No.
a dude and he's dressing as a woman?
think she wanted a surprise.
My understanding was that it was going to be a surprise, and that surprise ended up on the
Okay.
editing room floor.
All right. Well,
I love the scene when like everyone's freaking out because there's a murderer on their street and the cops are like, lock your door.
yeah.
That's their solution.
Yeah, that'll
Go to
help.
your grandmother's
Just
house.
lock
You
the
know
door.
what? The gender swap thing is probably supposed to be like some kind of smart commentary on the rest of the film.
Yeah.
They're probably trying to be like, well, she's not a damsel in distress. She's not wearing a dress. He is. Oh.
And then in a
He's
suit,
acting
she
like a
runs
bitch.
screaming for the rest of the movie. Spends literally the rest of the movie screaming and running
crying.
from a man.
All right. Cool. Well, yeah. Everybody enjoy Halloween. Tell us what you think in the comments. And we'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I'm going back to the basics, baby. I love myself a Wolfman.
Wolfman.
okay.
I love myself a Wolfman.
Benicio del Toro?
I was actually going to reference it. That movie is great. Well,
Is
maybe
it
not
really?
great.
It's not
but
bad.
It's,
I mean, I didn't-
it's
The Wolfman?
The Wolfman, one word, not to be confused with The Wolf Man, starring Lon Chaney.
Is Emily Blunt in?
Yeah.
Uh,